us this afternoon. I think it will be afternoon everywhere. We can say afternoon to our South Australian people today. It's after the midday, so welcome to everybody who is slowly coming on in. For those who I haven't met, my name is Rebecca Green. I'm Head of Social Procurement Services at Social Traders. I'm really happy to be here facilitating the discussion that you're going to hear today. You're not going to hear a whole lot from me, just a few questions, because we are here to highlight one of the really great social procurement deals that we have seen within our market at Social Traders. So we'll just give it another 20 seconds or so, and then I'll kick us off properly. But yes, please join. This will be around 45 minutes or so. You'll be on mute. If you have any questions, we love questions, pop them in the chat and we'll keep an eye on that. But welcome and thank you very much for joining us. So I'll kick us off now at a couple of minutes past. And welcome to It'll Never Catch On. It's a series of stories that we like to share, sharing from people who have caught on to this great thing of social enterprise and social procurement. So thank you to everybody who has joined us today. For those who have just joined in, I'm Rebecca Green, Head of Social Procurement Services, and again, a very warm welcome. To start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and acknowledge their continued connection to land, waterways, and community. I pay my respect to elders past, present, and emerging, and I extend that respect to all the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and all many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be joining us today. This is a national event, but I am joining you from Naarm on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. So it'd be really lovely if you could share in the chat the country that you're calling in from today. So please do say hello and let us know where you're calling in from. Really briefly, just a couple of housekeeping items here. We've been running these showcases the last couple of years. Really great opportunity for us to run national events and highlight some of the really fantastic work that's being done by members within our community and share that with you all. So you are on mute, but please use the chat to ask questions of our great members who are with us today. So very shortly, I will be introducing them. This panel discussion will be around 40-45 minutes. And I'm really happy to welcome Mathilde Eldridge, Social Enterprise Coordinator at Community Concierge South Australia, joined also by Sarah Lloyd, Senior Concierge Officer. So welcome Mathilde and Sarah, and also delighted to welcome David Cooper, Head of Property and Asset Management South Australia at Jones Lang LaSalle, JLL. So I'll be asking a couple of questions, but really we're here to hear from Mathilde and Sarah and David on their fantastic relationship and the work that they're doing in Adelaide. This session is being recorded. It's a public event, just acknowledging that you'll receive a recording after this event as well. So very briefly, and for those, since this is a public event, some of you may be new to Social Traders, I'll just give a really brief introduction. Our vision at Social Traders is to create a thriving social enterprise sector that significantly contributes to a more inclusive and equitable Australia. And we believe that social procurement is one of the biggest levers to achieve this. So our model works in three ways. We certify social enterprises. We connect them to business and government members who we work with through membership services, really to create more social procurement outcomes from these Australian business members with certified social enterprises, disrupting business as usual, putting spotlight on business for good and making buying from social enterprises the norm. To date, we currently are working with over 130 business and government organisations across Australia. They're leading the charge for business for good. And we work with them to help connect them with the over 500 certified social enterprises that we work with. We also work with and have multi-year partnerships with governments in Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. These governments are all working to create an environment for social enterprise and social procurement growth. And really excitingly, just yesterday, Social Traders and Social Enterprise Australia, the peak body for social enterprise, we shared an invitation for the federal government to join a roundtable event in Canberra focused on the contributions of social enterprise to the wellbeing economy. So really exciting to see that national presence in Canberra talking about social enterprise. And our CEO, Tara Anderson, she just recently said, like, imagine what could be possible if we partnered to supercharge the potential of social enterprise to solve our biggest social, environmental, and economic challenges. Now's the time. So it's a really exciting time for the sector. But I do want to give that brief highlight on the state governments that are working with social procurement policies or social enterprise strategies. This example, this deal and relationship that we're talking about here is based in Adelaide, and South Australia currently doesn't have a policy or a guiding strategy for social enterprise and social procurement. So this is a commercial deal really focused on the social outcomes, which is really, really powerful. And best way to describe the state of social procurement in South Australia at the moment is it's emerging. The state procurement policymakers are starting to actively consider what more can be done to ensure social and environmental value can also be achieved through procurement spend. So that's private sector organisations like JLL, early adopters, leading the way in South Australia for social enterprise procurement. And so with that platform, setting the three of you up as emerging leaders in this space, we're going to go into a discussion on purpose and businesses for good, social enterprise models, why organisations like JLL are looking at social procurement. But to start with, Mathilde, can you please introduce yourself to us and Community Concierge South Australia, tell a bit about the why, about the business, about your model, and how you use purpose for your competitive advantage.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. So yes, I'm Mathilde Eldridge. I'm the Social Enterprise Coordinator here at CBS Inc. And I think that really we need to highlight that this is a social enterprise business of Community Bridging Services, CBS Inc. So we have 26 years experience in South Australia with provision of support services for people with disabilities. So broadly speaking, we have sort of three key pillars of work we do in areas. Our employment side, disability employment services, NDIS services, and also our social enterprises. So Community Concierge SA is our first social enterprise that we started 11 years ago now. So really what we're all about at CBS is empowering people with disabilities to lead, realize their potential in life and lead fulfilling lives. And a key part of that is accessing meaningful employment that is based on their strengths and interests. And that's sort of where our social enterprises were born out of. I know with the relationship with JLL, that began in 2018. But Community Concierge SA actually did begin 11 years ago in the very building that we're in right now. And that is really how the relationship with JLL started as well, because it was Paul Cooper, who is no relation to David Cooper, who worked at JLL, and he had cause to come into this building quite a bit, and he saw what our amazing concierges were doing in this building and wanted to bring that to other properties across the city. So that's sort of where the journey began. But yeah, at CBS, we really, a key point of difference for us is putting the client first in every instance. And really, I think that's reflected with even our board. We have two people with disability that are on our board. And, so our executive director and founder, Freddie Brinkat, who started this whole idea, he reports to people with disability. So we really value making sure constantly that our services are centered on the needs of the clients that we serve. So that sort of brings me to Sarah today. If I'm talking about anything to do with concierge, I think, should come from the people that are on the ground and are the heart and soul of what we do. So maybe Sarah, would you like to tell us a little bit about your journey and what concierge means for you?
So I joined 3.5 years ago. I was fully employed until I was almost 30, had an accident, and I didn't work because of the outcome of the accident for about 5 years. I didn't know if I was capable of working. I was struggling to find work because I genuinely didn't think I would be able to hold down a job. And so I joined Concierge just before COVID, and was able to basically test out what I could do. And 3.5 years later, yeah, I'm still here. We got through COVID, we worked right through, which was awesome. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. Yeah, it's been great. I've learned a lot. I've expanded my skill set. Yeah, and so it's been great. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that really, thank you, Sarah.
That's okay.
And that really gets to the heart of it as well. With Concierge, you know, we really see that the value is the people, and we've built this model around the people, and recognizing that their strengths and how they can be best applied, and what we can do to essentially give them the tools and resources to be successful. But I guess one of the things that really is different with in terms of our impact is, you know, we have the direct impact of, you know, Sarah being employed and being able to, and, you know, everyone else actually access, you know, employment and all of the direct impacts of that. But even more broadly speaking, I think often, far too often, we see employment for people with disabilities is really behind the scenes, and it's not at the front and center. Whereas with this, you know, Sarah and all of the rest of the team are really the face of that building, and they are up front and center, and that really flips the narrative on what normally you see in employment. I think that's a key difference for us. Yeah, so sorry, I just lost my train of thought a bit there, but yeah, that's sort of the story broadly, shortly, I guess, about how we got to here now. Yeah.
No, that's great. Thanks, Mathilde and Sarah. And I think there's a couple of key points that I really loved hearing from you on that, and that is the inclusivity and the purpose of the business, and the visibility of the people that you exist to help into employment, but also that leadership and that that Freddie, you know, reports to people who's living with disabilities that his business is there to try and support. So I think that that's a really powerful message. So thanks. David, you know, it'd be great to hear from you now. Your role, what you've walked into, how you've, you know, why you and your role in JLL supporting social procurement or looking for social procurement outcomes.
Sure. Well, I guess my background is I took over from Paul Cooper in heading up our commercial property management team, and in our role we're essentially the agent for the owner in all respects to their property management. So whether that's the you know, engagement with tenants is a part of that. And that's probably what started the concierge relationship. And it started, you know, Paul's relationship was purely initially about the quality of the service. And I think it's something that's really important to us, is that we don't see this solely as being of social benefit. We see CBS as being a market leader in the Adelaide market for concierge in Adelaide. You know, the traditional idea of a concierge is a security guard sitting behind a computer screen that might look up as you walk past, but you know, there's no welcome, and that's not representative of how we want to position ourselves, but it's not representative of what tenants want. And that's the real driver, is the changing work environment. You know, it's no longer about turning up 9 to 5 and just doing your job and going home. Tenants want more from their buildings, and they want more from their landlords. And that includes wanting to understand what landlord social engagement is. And so that is where this became more important for JLL. We try and drive that with our clients, and our clients are the owners of these buildings. And whilst property is traditionally quite a conservative industry and a late moving industry, it's something that we feel that we can create benefit for our clients by saying, you know, what are you doing, or how are you looking at social procurement? We talk a lot about ESG, and the comment internally is often it's a big E, a very small S, and a G. And that's kind of, you know, there's a very big push to make buildings more, you know, get driving towards net zero carbon. But the S, you know, the owners don't necessarily know how to do it. And so these partnerships are something that we're trying to help them with. And I think that's how it's kind of developed over time. You know, it started for us at 25 Granville Street, which is the JLL corporate office is in this building. And each conversation with the owners, so since CBS have been here, we've been through 3 different owners over that period. And each time a new owner comes in, they say, well, what should we tender? What should we change? What should we do? And each time it gets to the concierge, and once they have that interaction, they just say, oh no, this is awesome. We don't need to make any changes. We're happy with this. We love what they're doing. And then also it helps them kind of understand how they can actually deal with the S. So it's been a really good partnership for us, and it's been a great way to merge like CBS versus with a very conservative, slow changing industry that property is.
Mm.
Yeah, it's one of the things I love hearing about that is that you know, the very small S. Like the only reason I love hearing about that is because that's where we can help. It's where social enterprises can help.
Yeah.
They are the specialists in you know, embedding social and purpose into the business. And you know, we work with a number of organisations who are looking to how social enterprises can really help them grow that S and stand behind it, and you know, see the impact. So yeah, that's really great. Thanks, David.
Yeah. And one of the other points I just talking about Freddie before, I think one of my first meetings I had with Freddie when I started at JLL, and it's something that sticks with me, and it's something that I always mention to clients when we're looking to, you know, roll this concierge out at another building. And Freddie's comment was, is people with a disability are often seen to be put at the back, and he wanted to put them at the front. You know, that first point of contact when you come into building. And I just think that's it's such a ingenious way of thinking about it, and so simple, but it was really important to how that whole concierge process works and how effective it has been.
Mm. That's a really good point as well, David, that you know, when we're talking about that impact, it's not just that immediate impact on, you know, the material impact of being employed, but it's also playing such a role in breaking down those attitudinal barriers that we still see in society. So it's so much broader. But yeah, I think that's one of the key innovative things. And another thing that I just wanted to touch on that you mentioned before is sort of the commercial, you know, value and viability of something like this. I think, you know, after 11 years of experience in different buildings, you know, we do have such a wealth of knowledge about how to tailor these services to really create that community. You know, we're about obviously empowering people with disabilities to lead the best lives they possibly can, but also changing the community and creating vibrant and accessible and inclusive communities. And I think that's what we try to bring to every building that we provide the service in as well. Yeah.
One of the points that, you know, I guess in my role, I've had a lot of conversations about the role of the office post-COVID. And for, you know, it's in our world, it's nearly been talked to death. But one of the big points that I've probably learned is that for people to attend the office, one of the terms we look at is you need 10 reasons to come to the office. They don't need to be 10 meetings. They don't need to be 10 major things, but maybe it's you want a better coffee, or it is you need to catch up with a person. And I feel like the welcoming environment of a good office is just one of those. And so, you landlords need to think around how are they going to create 10 reasons for people to come to the office as opposed to working from home. And, that's the concierge is one of those. It's not the only answer, but it is an important part of what they need to do. Otherwise, people just won't come to the city.
I hadn't heard that 10 things, David, but I'm going to think on what those 10 things are for me as I, transition to coming back in more regularly. And I think one of the things that we've spoken about here is that visibility really matters. And I think that's a really important part of the relationship that you guys have as well, is that, representation matters. And so seeing that on through this work and through the work that you do, Sarah and Mathilde, is really powerful. So I'd like us to talk a little bit now about the partnership. This is a pretty great partnership, and we'll talk about, some of the things that you're able to talk about, what's coming up. But what's gone into forming this partnership, the time, the values, the awareness generation, possibly within others at JLL, David, and from Mathilde and Sarah, how this came about, and then really steps that both organisations have taken to develop this really strong long-term partnership with a great vision.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Mathilde?
Well, if you want to jump in, I mean, I don't want to cut you off, David.
Well, I guess I can't take any credit for that. As I said, as we said before, Paul Cooper, who was my predecessor, he was the one who probably took a leap. And I know it was part of what his role was how he communicated that to our clients, because I know there was some reservations, particularly with clients, because the idea of having someone with a disability, I think it took a little bit of convincing to say, to get over those unconscious biases or conscious biases around people with a disability. And it was nearly, people had to see it to understand that it wasn't, that it was actually a better service. It wasn't anything less than that. And he was really committed to what CBS was able to deliver. And then he was able to then talk our clients through it. And then once you could see it, because, the building that we're in here, it's not the biggest and best building, but it's an iconic building. And once I think other owners could see how well it worked, then it was easier to then look to implement it in other buildings. But yeah, it was really I think a lot of it stands with Paul and his commitment to kind of supporting CBS.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's true as well. It's before my time with CBS and concierge that this all began. But I think it really is those individuals that do pop up that champion this sort of enterprise and procurement that really are the drivers of it. But you're right. I think seeing it was a really crucial part, and Paul having the opportunity to see it in action in our building, which, just to clarify, is just a couple streets over from Grenfell Street, which I do think is a very good building, actually, David. That really was, sealed the deal there. Having an individual see it in action and recognize the value of it, that it was more attentive and created a better customer experience than other concierge services. I know that it actually all began with a pretty funny anecdote that ended up with our executive director losing his shoes on a tram in Melbourne, but he got them back. But yeah, that's when the call came through asking if we would be willing to go into this relationship and go into 25 Grenfell Street. And it took some work. I think from that first phone call, it was about 12 months before we were actually into the building, because, there were a lot of logistics to work out. And I think a real testament to the strength of our relationship is, JLL actually, there wasn't even a desk there, a concierge desk, and they built that. I think, that type of relationship that we've developed really is based on that shared value. We have a lot of reciprocity between us because I think we both see not just the commercial solution, but also the values align as well. And I think, it's an easy relationship that we've developed where, it's open and transparent, and it's built on mutual respect. So I think that is the, kind of keys to success to for a fruitful partnership like this. I think, together we've had immediate impacts in terms of, the lives of our clients. I think since 2018 alone, we've had 21 people with disability be afforded employment opportunities through both the two buildings we're currently in now. But the first building we were in with JLL, 25 Grenfell Street, that opened up another opportunity for us to get into another building in Adelaide CBD. So we've also had, more opportunities for clients. But I think the fact that when this comes up and new assets are acquired, and the fact that we have people within JLL that advocate for our service and really, see the value of it and put it forward to the owners has given us many opportunities, and we're always looking for more as well, and I think more are on the horizon. But yeah, that's really the testament to the strength of our relationship. I think the fact that value is evident means that, it's providing a commercial solution that is valuable and recognised, and we hope to keep providing more opportunities.
Yeah, thanks. I want to come back just briefly to those, you mentioned 12 months before, or that was, before meeting, so there's awareness from a, social traders. We talk a lot about champions in business and government organisations, people who see the potential and have some agency to start this change management piece. But during those 12 months, and you also mentioned, Mathilde, there wasn't a desk. And so then from what I understand, JLL helped to set up spaces specifically for the employees of Community Concierge SA, but also that, again, coming back to visibility and inclusivity, Community Concierge taking your clients and your staff into the meetings with JLL, addressing perceptions of people living with disabilities, and really bringing a receptive JLL onto that journey. And I guess it'd be great to hear from any of you, any comments on that, or also that continued relationship and partnership. And, David, that ongoing, you mentioned a open-minded mindset. That's not quite right, sorry, but within JLL for doing work like this. So great for people on the call to hear how you have, navigated that journey and really created more awareness, which then leads to more work.
I think from our end, because we live and breathe, having the clients up first and showing and really, demonstrating their value, that follows through to all our commercial activities like that. So I know, I'm not sure which exact meeting, but during that 12-month period, we were in negotiations around, scope of works, what would be required, all of that nitty-gritty stuff, and we actually brought our former concierges to that meeting to meet with the building managers and talk about, what do they currently do, what services do they currently provide in our building. And I think it's actually the current building manager there now, who we have I know Sarah has a very strong relationship with, but he was, initially a little bit shocked and surprised, like, wow, you're doing a whole bunch of work that I was previously doing, things like, programming access cards and all that type of work that goes on behind the scenes that most people don't know happens in a commercial building. It's the hard, diligent work of the facilities managers. But that's one of the real, points of value that we bring to companies like JLL, is that by, having our amazing, talented clients through that work, they are freed up to focus on, more higher level work as well, and how they can add more value to the building. So I think that it's very apparent now to Hamish the real value that the concierges play in the building. But yeah, initially it had to sort of be demonstrated because it is so new. It is so unusual that, we would be putting forward people with disabilities to do this work. Yeah, I think, sort of the real heart of it. Yeah.
It's you've given me one of my favorite opportunities for a key catchphrase we love at Social Traders. You're talking about that value for money. This isn't an add-on, or it's not just a nice thing to do or a corporate donation. This is, it makes business sense to do social procurement and to work with social enterprises. Because when you're doing that, you're getting free impact. It's impact that wouldn't occur without that procurement spend, without that business spend. So the value that you can get with that. And Mathilde, you're talking about the JLL folks freed up to do other work. Really, it's a great business case. So thanks. We love more anecdotes that help us with that. Any comments to that, David? Oh, and Mathilde, any response?
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that we kind of say it's sort of our catchphrase. It's not really our catchphrase, but they really are the eyes and ears of building managers. I think the value of that is really can't be underestimated, really. So you're right, it's a commercial solution, and that impact is really you're getting it for free. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can support that. The role of property managers and building managers is changing as well. Like the traditional model is that we collect rent and fix leaking toilets and things like clean the floors, things like that. That's no longer the case, and our role is more about how we engage with tenants and how we support them in how they want to look after their employees. So we're able to do that in two ways. One, the concierge can do that directly because we're quite comfortable with them dealing direct with the tenants and helping them with whatever their request may be. But it's also that back end stuff that no one sees. There's a lot to our role that is, managing a loading dock or figuring out, who's getting access to the lockers in the end of trip. That sort of thing that can be handled by concierge then frees up our time to be focused more on the relationships. So, whilst the partnership that we have, it supports us and it supports the owners of the building, and then which ultimately supports the tenants. So there's plenty of levels that this works on. And then the other point I'd kind of add is that the flexibility that we have with our model allows us to do this, and it's something that's been supported by JLL nationally and even beyond that, because in other states, bigger markets, often the model for a JLL or even our competitors is that we will just employ the concierge person ourselves, and then we try and do it ourselves. But this is, I've never been supportive of that, because we're not experts in concierge. Let the experts be the experts. And so it's better for us we get the benefit, even if it's not an immediate, financial benefit out of it. We get the benefit by partnering with someone that makes us do our job better. And then, we do a better job. Our clients are happy, everybody's happy, and we go from there.
Yeah, and there's this big smile on my face with that, David, as you're bang on. But also there are so many enterprises that are operating in spaces that people are surprised at, but they operate in those spaces because they are the specialists in that space. Like, the service that you deliver, Mathilde and Sarah, is your expertise, and that more business and government organisations that we can get to understand that and see that they can get this spend and this impact and get the quality that they need. It's just really, really powerful.
Yeah, I had sorry to a job prior to this. My old boss's office, he had a plaque on the wall, and it was the saying of his dad's, and the saying was just let the baker bake the bread.
Yeah. Nice. We're going to, I'm going to ask you to all talk about, what's next, what's ahead for you, but just also letting our audience know, please, great opportunity to pop some questions in the chat. Any questions about services, about, internal work that might need to have occur from either side, or any questions. Really, really great opportunity to hear from 3 people directly involved in a pretty great relationship. So what is next for Community Concierge South Australia?
Well, what about you, Sarah? What would you like to see happen in the future?
Obviously more buildings.
More buildings, yeah. What do you want to add?
Yeah, I think focusing on kind of ongoing training, expanding the team, I think is quite important. And yeah, growing in general. I mean, it's offering the same opportunity to other people. The more, the better. It's a great initiative to be employed in an environment where the focus isn't on the fact that you have a disability. It's on doing the job and being provided the opportunity. It's awesome. And the more, if a few more desks would be awesome, because that's more people with the same opportunity. So yeah,
I think that is obviously what we're always trying to do as well. I know recently we actually had, I believe it was a previous owner of 25 Granville Street, reached out to us around the end of last year, and we happened to be going to Brisbane at the same sort of time for the Social Enterprise World Forum, which was very good. And basically they wanted us to check out, he recommended us to JLL in Brisbane to provide concierge services in a building there. So that, is really a testament to the strength of this relationship as well. The fact that we have people coming to us and these opportunities coming to us to provide these services through, looking at our track record is really great opportunity. That's something that we're always looking at. Obviously, we have only at the moment a footprint in South Australia, so it does present some challenges to go national, but we would always be open to trying to find, partnerships with the right people, like-minded organizations to actually, expand this amazing service to a wider audience and provide more opportunities, for people with disability across the country. But more locally, at the moment, we do have another opportunity on the horizon that, came to us through David. So we do continue working together to try to find new business opportunities together. I know in the past, we have been approached to tender for buildings together, some successfully, some not, but that's sort of how business relationships go, and that's how partnerships work. The fact that we still are, at the forefront of JLL's mind to be providing these services, really, I think is a wonderful thing. But yeah, at the moment, we'd love to expand across the state, and we would love to get into a government building. I know you were talking before about how there isn't that actual policy framework there at the moment and that drive from state government. But I think, our relationship has shown that private enterprise can be a way forward for that. And yeah, we'll keep plugging away. I think it's a personal goal of mine to get into a state government building. So yeah, watch this space. I think, together with the support from, commercial partners like JLL, we can achieve a lot, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Mathilde and Sarah. David, what's ahead?
Yeah, just talking about that, I know there is a government brief out at the moment where there, will be concierge associated with it. Often in those big government buildings, they look to handle it themselves, but I think that's where they need to think more broadly, because that's what they call them, a concierge is a security guard, essentially. So yeah, we need to keep working on government in how they how they approach even just how they occupy their own buildings, because in terms of office user, they're still operating out of a model that is very different to corporate occupiers. So they definitely need some education. As Mathilde mentioned, we've got one proposal with an owner currently that is looking to reposition their building and to boost their ESG credentials with their tenants. So that's one, and I think there is still the opportunity to look nationally, but we're probably early days with that discussion at the moment.
Yeah, no worries at all. Thank you. It's good to know that you're both looking at the opportunities that are ahead. So one last question for any of you who'd like to just offer some advice for anybody listening on whether they're a business and government champion or somebody who's running a social enterprise and thinking about how to get into or develop partnerships like this. Any words of advice from anyone here? And then just one last plug, if anybody has questions, by all means, please use the chat.
And I think I just saw a pop-up for a question, and I will get to that question in a sec. Look, I think in terms of advice to business and government members, I think ultimately the one key takeaway I would have is give it a go. You're not going to see this change unless you actually give it a go. So I think that's the first step. For the social enterprises, well, give it a go as well, I guess. But I think one thing that I was going to mention before is we are also quite commercially competitive in terms of our pricing points as well. And that's sort of something we have in our model for when we are going into a new building or with different owners or with a different property management firm. We've spoken before about the need to sort of prove it and demonstrate it. And sometimes that is a good way to get your foot into the door in these types of relationships. So I think making sure that you are commercially competitive as well. But yeah, really just following, those values and bring yourself back to the reason why you do it in the first place all the time. That should be your kind of lodestar for what you're doing. And I think as long as you sort of keep following those values, you will see results like this with time. And, it's a growing space here. And I think it will continue to keep accelerating. I'm not sure how many South Australians we have here, but just keep at it.
Awesome, thanks. Any last words, David?
No, I'm going to leave that one with Mathilde.
It's a pretty good close.
Yeah.
Pretty good close. Yeah. Look, so that is the close. We're going to keep it to the 45 minutes. There were so many things that I really loved hearing the three of you talk about this afternoon. Sarah, your last point on it's your opportunity and others to focus on the job, not on living with a disability, and I think that's really, really powerful. I'm going to absolutely use that when I'm advocating for social enterprises with organisations. And David, I loved both in the prep and today hearing you talk about the how social procurement can actually help you meet your ESG outcomes, but also the social responsibility. It's a commercial reality. Looking for social enterprises and social procurement opportunities to help balance that commercial benefit and the outcomes, and that your clients are recognizing that as well. 3 owners have all looked at this model and gone, yep, makes sense. No need to change. And Mathilde, we spoke a bit about, the partnerships and the laws of attraction, and you just said then, follow your Lone Star. It's, again, another great example of people in organizations meet who have similar values, have the same values, looking for the same goals, and then finding that way to work together. Really, really powerful. And when you're like, just give it a go, the last event of these that we did, that ended with, someone saying, just get started. So really encourage everyone, wherever you are on the journey, to give it a go. So again, thank you very much, Mathilde, Sarah, and David. Thanks to everybody who joined us. This recording will be sent out to you and will be available on our YouTube channel towards the end of the week. We have a back-to-back kind of week of events starting in Canberra and finishing in regional Victoria and somewhere else, Selena. The video will on YouTube will have closed captions. And the last piece is this has been a really wonderful opportunity to hear from our 2022 South Australia, Western Australia Regional Game Changer Award winners. So thank you and congratulations on your award winning last year. And we will be running the awards again this year. So they'll be hitting all of our channels and you'll see more about it on May 9. It's going to be good. Selena said good bonus. It's going to be great. It's going to be great, really great opportunity. Look forward to seeing your applications and look forward to celebrating with you through our evening celebrations across the state. So thank you, everybody, and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.